My name is Eric Lortzen. I'm the Agricultural Commissioner. We're here to present the annual crop report. I'd like to first say that we're going to introduce some other special guests as we go through, but Jake Reisdorf, I'd like to introduce him, and you might find a little sample of his honey under your chair. There's one for everybody, and compliments of Jake and our office. And if you don't get one, we'll figure out a way to get you one. First, I want to start by introducing our panel members up here. We have Jim Bogar from the Grower Shippers Association of Central California, Norm Groot from Monterey County Farm Bureau, Butch Corda, Ippolito International, Kim Stemler from the Monterey County Vintners and Growers Association, and Jody Reinman from the California Strawberry Commission. So they're here to provide a few remarks and answer questions, especially those that I can't answer. So it's really a pleasure to release the report and to acknowledge that for the fourth year in a row, our crop values set a record for 2015 at about $4.8 billion, 4.84 to be more accurate. That's up about $348 million from the previous record of 2014, a gain of about 7.75%. If Monterey County Agriculture were a Fortune 500 company, that would be doing pretty darn good. Obviously, it's not. It's made up of a number of individual companies and individuals. Although I understand that big numbers make the big news, I want to really go behind the dollar signs and offer a broader view of Monterey County agriculture. You might recall, some of you were here last year, that our crop report theme was Our Crops, Our People. And this year we highlight and honor the work of the growers and others involved with local certified farm markets. As I noted in our press release, I hope you got a copy of, these are not necessarily multi-million-dollar operations, but they're extremely important to agriculture and to our community. First, they provide an alternative source of fresh, healthy produce for our local residents in most of the San Francisco Bay Area. I can't think of any other county in California where farmers markets offer such a variety of produce that literally may be grown down the street from where the market is or where they operate. Second, the farmers markets provide a personal link between agriculture and the consumer, which is more important than ever now. I believe the importance of this unique relationship can't be measured in dollars. It's really invaluable. More and more we find growers and their non-agricultural neighbors in closer proximity. So our challenge is to understand each other's needs and concerns and deal with them in a positive, productive manner to benefit both our economy and the environment. Some people tend to focus on conflict, and there's always conflict around agriculture, around the regulation of agriculture, and I understand that makes a compelling news story. But efforts to promote cooperation deserves attention too. Some people, I appreciate the good news coverage relative to that we've had recently as we launched a model program to improve farm pesticide safety and information around schools. I promise to keep media posted as we move forward with this project, the first of its kind in the state. Also coming up, we're working with Farm Worker Advisory Committee and expect that that collaboration and cooperation between our office and that community will produce some news very shortly, so stay tuned for that. So I have good reason to believe that whatever 2016 brings, it will be another great year for Monterey County agriculture, both in terms of economic success and demonstrating our commitment to a better community and a better environment. So now let's turn briefly to the numbers, and then I'll introduce our guests again to offer their views. Again, the report underscores the diversity of our agricultural economy. As often is the case, the 2015 values fluctuated, with 29 commodities increasing in value and 22 declining, yet an overall increase in production values. Also, As always, the values that we report, it's important to remember, are gross revenues estimates, and they do not represent the considerable expenses for land, water, labor, and other inputs. This year's report is led again by leaf lettuces at number 1 with a production of more than 869 million, the second consecutive year of an all-time record value, and an increase of more than $79 million over the previous year, and an increase of almost $300 million in the last 2 years. Strawberries are not far behind with more than $861 million and a 21% increase from the previous year. At number 3, head lettuce reported more than 637 with a slight decline, which has been sort of continuing trend over recent years. Rounding out the top 10, number 4, broccoli was more than 423 million. Nursery products were more than 313 million. That was up 28 million on less acreage, so higher prices. Cauliflower, more than 238 million. Celery, above 225 million. Wine grapes, nearly 186 million, down about 25% from 2014, but fairly consistent with a statewide trend, and we'll get some remarks from Kim Stemler on that. Number 9, miscellaneous vegetables at more than 150 million, and number 10, spinach at nearly 142 million, down 16 on acreage and production. So I'm going to get ready to show a video, but I'd like to thank those in the industry, those folks here and throughout the industry that help provide information for us. Without them, we couldn't produce a report like this. We do rely on them for information and sort of ground truthing. I'd also like to recognize a few staff. Christina McGinnis, who's here, who's been kind of a coordinator over all of her report. Graham Hunting has really worked diligently to oversee the production of the report. And certainly last but not least, Shayla Neufeld, who's loses sleep over this and dedicates a great deal of time and energy to it. And it's sometimes thankless, but today you get thanked. So thank you so much for all that you do. I'd also, before we start the video, I'd like to introduce some special guests that are here, focused with sort of our centerfold. I think we have Catherine Barr, the Executive Director for Monterey Certified Farm Markets, Flora Ripley from Flora Farms. Oh, yay. I recognize the picture, too. Stevie Hall, Hall's Organic Farms. Thank you. And one that doesn't, he's already been introduced once, but I think the star of our show, Jake Reisdorf, Carmel Honey Company, a 12-year-old and a young gentleman that really surpasses his years. So let me show the video, and then we'll give an opportunity for our panel to speak.
Buying at farmers market is great because not only it's fresh, but you know where it comes from. And sometimes you'll find items that you can't find at a local supermarket.
So I'd say the good of selling farmers markets is it's face to face. Like, you're my customer, I'm your farmer. It's like a personal relationship.
I am married to a farmer, 4th generation farmer. Before I started back in '93, the markets were only seasonal. They only went from like May to October. And then they didn't do anything during the wintertime. Well, because of all the multi-climates here in California, you can go ahead and have year-round markets because everything is available year-round.
So my journey in ag started when I was in high school. I took FFA classes, and that's kind of where I got my start, and I got rooted in agriculture in the Salinas Valley. And I decided to go to Hartnell College, where I studied crop production and my general studies, and as well as food safety. And that's where I found out about ALBA, and I was taking classes at Hartnell College, and I realized I could also get credit for my classes and also maybe become a farmer at the same time. So I jumped on it as fast as I could, and I took the ALBA class, and I graduated. So that's where I started with the half acre.
Flora's farm started about 8 years ago. And it all started with raising some tomatoes and just sharing it with family and friends. And everybody said, wow, these are really good. So We decided after I closed my business, I was a florist for 30 years, I decided we had the land and we were going to go ahead and start growing some vegetables and fruits to sell.
So it was a 5th grade project when I was supposed to be a website designer. So the teacher went around the room and said, you're a doctor, you're a dentist, you're a website designer. And our job was they were supposed to figure out what degrees we needed to go to college, you know, what we needed to do what we needed to know on a day-to-day basis, all that sort of stuff. And in doing that and getting an A on my project, I decided to make my own website. And I made my website about honeybees because I just thought they were so interesting and they were just, you know, wonderful animals and creatures.
Yo agarré el curso que se llama curso de Pepa que hacen allí en Alba y fue un proceso de como de 6 meses. Empecé allí a enseñar, te enseñan a todo tipo de lo que es siembra, como riego, cultivar.
We decided that we wanted to make sure that we had a place for that small California farmer to take his wares where he could not basically compete with somebody, a bigger farm going to wholesale.
Yeah, we do about 150 different commodities. We do a lot of herbs, and we also take ideas from our customers at our markets saying they would like to see the certain item that they have read about online. So we will take that and I will go ahead and scout out and purchase seed and organic seed, and then we will grow it for them, and then we will go ahead and make sure it's on our certification and then sell it at the certified markets.
We grow a mixed variety of stuff ranging from strawberries to carrots to kale to tomatoes to chard, fennel, basil, broccolini, peppers, squash, cilantro, all kinds of stuff. Just a big mix of crops.
Sometimes they stick the frames together, so I'm just loosening it up right now. This looks like a good frame. So right now you see the milky kind of white stuff is the babies, and then the colorful stuff around them is the pollen, and then this stuff right here that's by my fingers is the honey.
O Alba nos empezó a ayudar a buscar como para vender los vegetales fuera, como en los farmer markets. De allí empezamos a agarrar un mercado en que fue en Salinas. También fue muy difícil ahí porque yo empecé a vender en las iglesias, empecé a vender en las escuelas, en cualquier evento. Fui hasta King City, Greenfield, Soledad, fui hasta Hayward, San José. Para los farmer markets tenemos que tener muchas variedades de cultivo. Yo creo que tenemos entre 30 y 35 variedades de cultivos.
Doing something that your customer wants makes it more exciting, and also teaching them all the benefits of eating and being able to work with the producer and knowing where your food comes from, which is very important.
It makes me want to wake up and, like, you know, go to work so that I know that I have to supply my customers in the community with local organic fresh produce.
So I'd like to travel around the world and you know, do kind of a hive to table sort of deal, meet all the, you know, beekeepers, how they keep their bees, what equipment they use, like to figure out all of that.
Yo aquí trabajamos todos los días. Nosotros no hay descansos ni sábados ni domingos a menos que llueva. Lo que te da más aliento o ánimo es cuando vas a vender a los farmer markets, que te dice la gente, oh, te ofrece la mejor.
We do cooking demonstrations now, we do jamming, we have cookbook authors who come and do a talk. Basically, what I see for the future of farmers markets, again, it does depend on your consumer, and we have a really great group of people that come week after week to support us.
Got to be outside when the sun's coming up. That's the best time of the day. And we work all day, whether it's watering, planting, and so it's a busy day for all of us.
If you're not happy with what you do on the daily basis, you definitely need to make a change in your life and do what makes you happy, you know? I think that's really important. To wake up every day and want to go to work and not feel like you have to go to work.
Oh, we work in the rain, no problem. I like to get wet.
So for all the numbers, it's really a pleasure to have farm markets representatives here. And, you know, no offense to anybody else, but Jake is our star, clearly. So thanks for coming. Thanks for being a part of the crop report. I mean, we try to take advantage of this annual opportunity to highlight a segment of agriculture, and it's really fun to have real people with real faces doing real work for our community that really highlights the importance of agriculture in a broad sense. So I can't thank you enough for the work that you do and for coming today. Now I'd like to just ask our panel members to make a few remarks, and then we'll open it up to questions. Jim, you want to start out?
Yeah, thanks, Eric. And thank you for including me in today's festivities. Another great crop report. The numbers, the dollar amounts, the statistics in the report, as usual, are just staggering. The diversity of crops that we grow here is amazing. And the gross value of the crops produced here is absolutely incredible and continues to rise overall. We've got 10 crops in this county whose gross production values exceed $140 million. And just a reminder to tag on to what Eric said, gross production values do not equal profits. But I think, you know, if Monterey County were a state, we'd rank about right in the middle of states in the entire United States, just on the amount of crops that we produce here. But for me, it goes beyond the numbers and the statistics. I think this crop report reflects the incredible leadership and dynamics and resourcefulness and resiliency, efficiency, innovation, passion of people that work in this industry and the families that work in this industry. And a good example was just what you saw on the video. And the continuing challenge that we in agriculture all face now and into the future is really producing more with less. We have incredible and ever-increasing challenges that we are facing today, among them labor, farm worker housing, water, food safety and security, crop protection, ag-urban interface, and there's a whole bunch more. But the people that work in this industry are just incredible in the efforts that they put forth to produce a safe and affordable food supply. And speaking of people, I again want to commend the Ag Commissioner. I think that these spotlight sections that we've had in the last few crop reports, the farmers markets this year. Last year, if you remember, it highlighted farm workers. The year before that were farmers that engage in extensive conservation practices and sustainability. The year before that was healthy, the farmers and the industry engaging for healthy kids and salad bars in schools. And the year before that, it was family farms and family histories of the people that have been in this industry for generations. And it's really good, I believe, to, in addition to the numbers and the statistics, is to put faces and names of people in this industry, put a face on it. And I think the Ag Commissioner has done an excellent job in that. So to conclude, I think the statistics and figures in the report are great. They're mind-boggling. And I hope everybody keeps these things in mind as we address, discuss, debate the important issues of the day. But this industry and the people that work in it, whose lives are in it, who are affected by it, directly or even indirectly, is very, very important. And I think that this is an industry worth preserving and sustaining. So with that, Eric, I again appreciate being included as part of the panel discussion. And great report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Thanks, Jim. Norm?
Sure, and it's a pleasure to be here this morning participating in this announcement of some really good economic news for our ag sector here in Monterey County. And there seems to be a lot of talk about doing more with less, and I think this increase in the farm gate values in 2015 indicates here that we can do more with less. Less water and soil inputs due to further advancements in irrigation technology, variety research, and farm practices. Less availability of labor, unfortunately, as we continue to experience a shortage of hands to harvest our crops each year. This could seriously impact the types of crops that we grow here in the future. Less energy as more farms see and ranches adopt alternative forms of energy such as solar and wind. And less reliance on the way we've always done it, because the next generation of farmers look at food production differently. But each year we do manage to do more. Innovative technologies such as Heavy Connect, a local startup managing in-field functions and gathering data electronically, are changing the way that we're looking at farm data and how we collect it, retain it, and use it. Supporting the next generation of agriculturalists such as Jake Reisdorf, who has turned his class project into a business, a growing concern in Carmel Valley here. And I'll add last year that Farm Bureau was proud to award Jake a small grant so that he could expand his business and continue his success. Informing the public of how our crops are grown, what it means to be a farmer and an environmentalist at the same time, and providing locally grown food for our healthy diets through our farmers markets. That's what the ag sector here is all about. These are all hallmarks of a strong agricultural community. A 7.75% increase year over year shows that our local products are in demand, provide healthy choices, and keep our local economy diverse and vibrant. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Norm. Butch?
Thanks for inviting me, Eric. Found something very interesting in the report this year, focusing on the vegetable acreage side of it. The acreage in 2014 and 2015 were basically identical, 287,000 acres. But at the same time, the crop value in 2014 was $3.084 billion. In 15, that number jumps up to $3.261 billion, $180 million increase. That's a 4.5% increase from 2015 to 2014. What contributes to that? There is a very fine line between oversupply and undersupply in our industry. And the market's a pendulum. Undersupply, market goes up. Oversupply, market goes down. A contributing factor to that was the El Nino event of 2015. Unfortunately, not from a rain event for our area, but associated with the El Nino occurrence was for most of the summer and fall, the daytime temperatures were high, much higher above normal. More importantly, the nighttime, the low temperatures were also significantly above normal for days, weeks, months at a time. That impacts the quality, that impacts the yield. Lower yield, higher market. It's also very interesting that there's been some changes in our industry the last 2 or 3 years with the water situation in the San Joaquin Valley. Traditionally, Huron was a buffer between Salinas and the desert. 3-week period there in the spring, 3-week period in the fall. If you look at the lettuce acres for 2015, you see the acres stay approximately the same, iceberg lettuce, but you see less acres spring, less acres summer, more in the fall. Why in the fall? Many growers, many shippers made the decision to stay here later, go from the end of Salinas to the beginning of Yuma. So it's a constant moving target and a strategy of how you play your resources, how you play your assets, how you provide product 52 weeks a year to your customers. Within that report, cauliflower was a huge success story last year. The acreage was up 7%, but the dollar value on that crop was up 25%. We experienced a very healthy cauliflower market for most of the year, Part of that is cauliflower has become a very trendy, nutritional vegetable. It's featured in many restaurants with many ways to prepare it, and it goes from the restaurant to the household. Consumption in general goes up. Celery acreage was down 10%, yet the dollar value was up 25%. It takes a big combination to have those things occur. Leaf lettuce, same acres as last year, 12% higher total crop value, higher prices. Like Eric presented, 22 commodities were down, 29 commodities were up versus the previous year. Nobody has the crystal ball that can predict what are the volumes, what are the prices going to be. But in our area, with such a diversity in the vegetables, you might have some up, some down, but the challenge is to be able to have the consistency, and Monterey County provides a tremendous opportunity. And I'll be happy to answer questions later, too.
Thanks so much, Butch. Kim?
Great. So I'm Kim Stemler. I'm the director of the Monterey County Vintners and Growers Association. So on the face of it, it looks like grapes had a really bad year, wine grapes last year. Our value is down 25%. And that is bad, but in the long run, I think there is promise actually being shown here. So there's a couple of variables. 2012 and 2013 were overabundant years in terms of production. So we needed some balance there. We needed a down year really to balance the market. The other thing is that with why we were down was because of the weather. The weather was terrible. We had really early bud break. We had rains late in May and June. It was very hot in the summer. And actually, we had the earliest harvest ever with our first folks going to harvest in July. So October is normally our harvest. People were going to harvest in July. Most were, except for Carmel Valley, were actively engaged in harvest in August. So it was a very difficult year. That being said, some of the grapes were extraordinary, especially the Pinot grapes. And so there was a reduction in value of 25%, but our prices increased. Well, one could say, well, our prices increased because there's less production. But what we know is in other parts of the states who also had difficult years, their prices did not increase. Their prices decreased. So, for example, Chardonnay went up 7% for us. But in the Central Valley, who also had a difficult year, their Chardonnay went down 12% in cost. So that's really significant. The other thing is that Pinot Noir is hot right now. It is the grape. And Wine Spectator has rated Monterey County, and specifically Santa Lucia Highlands Pinot Noir vintages, so no brand, just the vintage in general, as the best Pinot Noir in California for the last 3 years. So people are recognizing this. And honestly, if you don't have contracts right now for any Pinot grapes, you're not getting any. And I would say that about most of our grapes right now. I think most of our contracts are filled. And last year, they actually could not fulfill all of their contracts. So what I see is promise. I see the value of our grapes going up, and I don't think that that is just because of the reduction in production. I really believe it's because people are recognizing the value of the quality of Monterey grapes and seeing that Monterey grapes, wine grapes on their own, stand alone. They're not just juice. They really have character and are one of the best grapes in the state, clearly.
Awesome. Thanks. Did you bring any?
Sorry. In my car. Samples. Next year.
Jody Reinman from the California Strawberry Commission.
Hello. It's such a pleasure.
Push the microphone over.
Oh, sure.
Both of those.
It's really nice for me to be here, especially because this is not really what I always do. I've been with the commission for like about 7 years, but it's really great to hear what everybody said, and what else can I say to add to that, except that, you know, we see that with our strawberry farmers all the time, and one of the great things that I get to do is to take our to take influencers on farm tours to connect the consumer with farmers. And that's just been such a great thing for us to do in the last few years, to really get on the field, find out what's going on, especially when, you know, a lot of consumers are hearing about pesticides. In fact, we just had Kelly attend a blogger tour that we did with a local farmer, and just being really upfront with how pesticides are used and why. And the reaction from these consumers slash influencers is just really amazing, and they're always relieved to hear what farmers are doing. So it's especially nice for me to be here because it's not, like I said, not part of my everyday job to just look at the numbers, but more relating what strawberry farmers do for the consumers. On the crop report side of things, last year was a larger crop year for us, primarily due to the little rain, believe it or not. Because there's just a little bit of rain last year, it extended the harvest season longer, so they started harvesting around in March, where it would typically begin in April. So the other reason for that is that even though acreage in the last few years has gone down, even though it went up last year, the newer varieties are yielding more strawberries per acre. So those are the big reasons why strawberries were at number 2 last year.
Thanks very much. With that, I mean, we've got expert panelists here, so if anybody's got any questions, we'd be happy to try to answer them. And if there's not, I know Kim has to go to another engagement, so but yeah, right.
Yeah, sort of just a general question for the whole panel. As someone who's not intimately involved in the agricultural industry, I mean, I understand you're under a lot of regulations, but my question goes to, there seems to be a general overall public mistrust or lack of understanding of what the ag community faces and what they provide. How do we help educate the public?
I'll take that.
Go, Jim.
How do we do it? We need to expand upon and improve our communication with the general public. I agree with you. There's a lot of misconceptions out there. I think what we've been trying to do, I know at Grower Shipper and Farm Bureau and Strawberry Commission and the Vintners and Growers Association, a lot of what we do, and we are planning on expanding those efforts, is public information, because I think the more information that we can disclose, the better it is. If they are aware the improvements and innovations and technologies that we've applied because we don't have as much farm labor, we don't have as much water. We're continuing to improve and evolve in efficiency, and it's really a good story to tell. But you're right, there's preconceived notions, there's a narrative out there that is all over the place, and you think about it, a lot of people get their news or information from blogs, okay? And we're aware of that. We are addressing that, but as Jody just said, we do a lot of tours of farms. We want the public to see how we do business. We bring legislators and regulators here from Sacramento, from Washington, D.C., from all over the United States and the world to show them what they do. They want to learn from us. I mean, we are the best at what we do. The world looks to the Central Coast and specifically to Monterey County on what are we doing regarding food safety and water and labor, and because we're always a step ahead of the game. But we just need to do a better job of communicating that.
Any other? Nor?
Yeah, I always like to say farmers don't tell their story very well, and that's been a part of the lifestyle. Farmers just don't boast about what they do. They just go quietly about what they do and successfully produce food for all of us to eat. I think the response to that is my organization took a different tact a few years ago when we redesigned our website and decided that it was going to be much more consumer-oriented than just our community, our members. So we publish a lot of information about what's going on in Monterey County on our website so people can use it as a resource and really look and see what we're doing here in the agricultural sector. I also try and get out and speak to as many public groups and associations as I can. I think telling our story personally and verbally always goes a lot farther, and I think that makes a big difference in the long run. And I think, too, we have to figure out how best to look at this tidal wave of information that we call the internet and decide how we're going to approach some of these blogs and some of the other sites that just want to tear down everything that we do here, whether it's our agriculture or it's our country. So I think we need to figure that out, and we need to get better information out about what we do. But I think overall, success stories like this really need to be publicized more. We're doing a lot of great things here, and we still have a great environment to live in. So I think we have a perfect story to tell.
Great. Any other comments?
I was just going to add to that, in addition to working with local electeds, we have a strawberry society, and I don't know what everybody else is doing, but we've also started to utilize social media, not just working with blogs, but doing paid advertising with really important messages about water efficiency and what our farmers are doing, and even sharing farmers' stories. But the reach has been really impressive this year. At first it was a little tricky trying to figure out, do you just go to bloggers? But you can really utilize all of the new tools that are out there today to share what we'd love farmers to be telling everybody. But like he was saying, farmers are humble and they're not out there telling their story. So it's our job to share all the goodness that's going on.
Thanks. Other questions?
This question is for Jody again. Can you explain more in depth about the causes of the uptick in the strawberry? You said lower acreage, and can you go over that?
Well, there was an increase in acreage last year, but overall it's been decreasing. But the newer varieties that the growers are using, there's more yield per acre. So there's more berries. There's less land, but more berries.
Yeah, for Butch or Jody, how tight is the acreage in this area compared to maybe other growing regions in California, like Oxnard? I hear Oxnard is down somewhat on strawberry acreage, but it seems like land is kind of tight around Monterey County. There's a real demand here. Is there for even a competition for land here?
Do you want to?
It's I'd go stronger at it. It doesn't seem like there's extremely tight supply on ground, especially in Monterey County. There are so many different crops, from organic to conventional to strawberries, spring mixes, you name it, and the pressure on the ground is tremendous. It's as tight as it's ever been. Rents are reflecting it. So from that standpoint, you're absolutely right. Some counties might be down in one commodity, up in another, but when it comes to this area here, I don't know if ground's ever been tighter than what it currently is. And I don't see that trend changing.
Other questions? Go ahead.
Any impact that you foresee, especially with the latest Brexit and sort of the global economy?
It's out of my range.
We're all looking.
Which, anybody?
We actually were able to host a UK trade group on Friday night and Saturday morning, and they were devastated. Luckily, we drank lots of wine. So what it comes down to is the folks from the UK won't have the money to buy our produce, won't have the money to buy our wine. So what this group was looking at was much lower price points than they were looking at previously. So they might have looked at a bottle that cost $30 last year. Now they were looking at $10 to $15 just because of this vote. So, for all of our exports to those countries, we're going to lose money. We won't sell the higher priced bottles.
Are there any other general questions before we wrap up? Seeing none, I want to thank the panel members again for taking the time to come out, prepare for this, and provide remarks and answer questions. Like I said, they'll be available. And again, I want to thank Jake and his team and his mom for coming out to support us. And I think it's really important that we recognize different segments of the industry, and I want to thank them for taking time out of your schedules to come by here today and be part of this annual event, which I think is really important, in part in educating. Getting agriculture in the news is really important part of understanding where our food comes from and how that works. So I thank all of you for attending, and I really appreciate the farm market folks for coming out and those that put this together. So thanks very much.